Imagine you're tasked with diffusing a highly complex explosive device.
Okay, stressful start, but I'm with you.
Right, so you're looking at this tangled web of wires,
Yeah.
and you're carefully deciding which one you need to cut. But there's a massive catch.
There's always a catch.
Exactly. The timer on this device, it isn't just ticking down at a steady pace. It's like randomly speeding up.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it suddenly jumps from 10 seconds to 3, and it completely deprives you of any time to think. You think you have space to operate, and then instantly you just have none.
That perfectly captures the sheer panic of playing against an elite modern defensive system.
Right.
It's really less about aggressive tackling and, entirely about the psychological pressure of shrinking space.
Well, welcome to the deep dive. Consider this your ultimate personalized cheat sheet for the biggest match in club football, the 2026 UEFA Champions League Final, which is taking place on May 30th.
It is going to be massive.
Oh, absolutely. Whether you're a die-hard, tactical obsessive who wants to break down, like, passing networks, or you just want to sound like the smartest person at the pub this weekend, we have got you covered.
We really do.
Yeah, we are pulling from a massive stack of sources today. We're looking at granular tactical breakdowns, historical head-to-head records, official UEFA logistics, PR wires, and we're even tapping into raw fan sentiment straight from the trenches of Reddit.
It's just a phenomenal stack of information for a matchup that is fundamentally defined by its extremes.
The contrast here is genuinely mesmerizing. On one side, you have Paris Saint-Germain, the defending champions, and they have scored a staggering 44 goals this campaign.
Which is just absurd.
It is. They are a pure, overwhelming offensive machine. But then on the other side, you have an undefeated Arsenal team that has conceded a grand total of 6 goals in 14 matches.
6 goals in an entire European campaign.
Yeah, it's basically unheard of. Okay, let's unpack this, starting with a stage where this unstoppable force actually meets this immovable object.
Right, so we are heading down to Budapest, specifically the Puskás Arena. And, the venue itself actually plays a really massive role in the tactical environment of this match.
Yeah, when I was looking at the architectural specifications for the stadium in our sources, I realized it is not built like your typical modern bowl-shaped sports arena.
No, not at all.
It's actually engineered a lot more like a classical 19th century opera house.
The acoustic design is remarkably intentional there.
Right. The architects, they designed these incredibly steep, continuous tiers of seating. So they push the fans right to the absolute edge of the pitch, kind of looming directly over the touchline.
Yeah, giving them zero breathing room.
Exactly. And the roof is specifically angled to capture that raw crowd noise, trap it, and project it violently back down onto the players.
Wow.
So for a player who's, trying to communicate a defensive shift to their teammate just 10 yards away, it is going to be acoustically deafening.
But the choice of Budapest actually goes far beyond just acoustics. Yeah, UEFA is sending a very clear message to the rest of the continent here. Historically, the Champions League final goes to the traditional, wealthy power centers.
Like London, Madrid, Munich.
Exactly. But UEFA awarded this final to Budapest to explicitly reward their emerging public-private funding model.
So it's basically an economics thing.
It totally is. UEFA is essentially telling European cities that, hey, if you want to host these massive billion-dollar events, you need to stop relying solely on taxpayer money and start building elite infrastructure through private partnerships.
That is a massive shift for the sport.
It really is.
And the resulting infrastructure, you have to admit, is undeniably elite. The Puskás Arena is operating on 100% renewable electricity for the final.
Which is super impressive.
Yeah, and it features full, stadium-wide 5G connectivity for all these real-time fan engagement apps. But my favorite detail from the logistics packet.
What's that?
Concourse heating systems. They're literally designed to keep the fans warm while they grab a drink on a brisk spring evening.
That's incredible. And, the entire city is basically reconfiguring itself to handle the influx.
I can imagine.
Yeah. Budapest is executing the largest single-day police deployment in Hungary's history. 4,000 officers on the ground.
Jeez.
Plus, the airport is handling 800 flight movements and processing around 250,000 passengers over a single weekend.
That is just wild logistics.
They even had to deeply integrate the stadium's exit routes with the municipal transit system, like physically expanding the M2 and M4 metro lines just to prevent the city grid from completely freezing up post-match.
You could just feel the sheer scale of the spectacle before the referee even blows the whistle. I mean, we've got the Pepsi kickoff show headlining with rock icons, the Killers.
Naturally.
Yeah, and the PR wires are just buzzing about this high-budget promo film that's currently airing. Brandon Flowers is driving this custom electric blue sports car, and he's physically racing David Beckham on a motorcycle
As one does.
right through the historic streets of Budapest toward the stadium.
It is a massive corporate spectacle, completely designed to maximize global broadcast engagement.
But see, here's the thing. You have this huge corporate spectacle on one hand, but for the 100,000 fans who are actually descending on the city, the real electricity isn't coming from a rock concert.
No, definitely not.
It's coming from a historically claustrophobic rivalry. The history between these two clubs is perfectly, almost eerily symmetrical.
It really is. I mean, in 7 official European meetings throughout their history, Arsenal has exactly 2 wins.
Okay.
PSG has exactly 2 wins. And there have been exactly 3 draws.
Wow.
Yeah, the balance is just razor thin.
And it's a rivalry that spans decades.
Oh, yeah. The roots go all the way back to the gritty 1993-94 Cup Winners' Cup, which Arsenal ultimately won after they eliminated PSG in this brutal, really low-scoring semifinal.
Right.
But the narrative that really matters to the players on the pitch right now is the fresh scar tissue from last season.
Ah, yeah, the 2024-25 semifinals.
Exactly. PSG dismantled Arsenal 3-1 on aggregate. You had Ousmane Dembélé, Fabian Ruiz, and Achraf Hakimi basically systematically picking apart Arsenal's defense.
Ouch.
Yeah, and then PSG just marched right into the final and utterly humiliated Inter Milan 5-0 to win their first ever Champions League trophy.
Knowing that, you would assume PSG fans are just radiating confidence right now. But I actually spent hours digging through the PSG subreddits and all the fan forums to get the raw pulse of the supporters.
And what did you find?
It is a wildly mixed bag. On one hand, they definitely feel this new mental invincibility. Like, they finally won the big one last year. The curse is broken.
Sure.
But underneath that bravado, there's this creeping, pervasive anxiety about physical fatigue.
Well, the physical data on the PSG squad actually paints a very concerning picture.
See, I hear the fatigue argument from the fans, but I have to push back on that a little bit. Doesn't momentum completely override tired legs?
I mean, to an extent.
Like, PSG just survived a chaotic, emotionally draining 6-5 aggregate shootout against Bayern Munich in the semifinals. They won their domestic league with 4 matches to spare. When you are scoring 44 goals and riding that kind of emotional high, doesn't adrenaline just erase the fatigue?
What's fascinating here is the unseen physiological toll that adrenaline simply cannot mask over 90 minutes.
Really?
Yeah. Take PSG's midfield maestro, Vitinha. He has played over 4,000 minutes of highly competitive football this season.
Oh, wow, 4,000.
It is an absurd, completely red zone workload for a central midfielder. Because of the congested calendar, he went from the intense pressure of Euro 2024 straight into the FIFA Club World Cup with almost 0 off-season rest or physical regeneration.
That's a recipe for burnout.
Exactly. And now factor in that their incredibly dynamic left back, Nuno Mendes, is struggling with recurring fitness issues.
Right, I saw that.
And right backer Achraf Hakimi actually missed some training sessions recently. So yes, they are explosive, but they are absolutely a high-performance engine running on fumes.
Okay, so the warning lights are flashing on the dashboard. And that physical fatigue is heavily compounded by a massive, glaring structural change at the very back of PSG's formation.
A huge change.
A change that really feels like it was custom-made for Arsenal to exploit. Because last year, PSG had the towering Italian Gianluigi Donnarumma in goal.
Yeah, he was a brick wall.
Literally.
Yeah.
But over the summer, they sold him to Manchester City for £26 million. And now, the Russian keeper, Matvei Safonov, is starting between the posts.
Which is huge because swapping out a goalkeeper of Donnarumma's profile fundamentally changes the geometry of how a defense protects its penalty area.
The analytics community has been highly critical of Safonov leading into this match.
Yeah.
But the raw sources show he's actually an incredible reflex shot stopper.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, the guy literally saved 4 penalties in a shootout against Flamengo during the Intercontinental Cup.
Yeah, his reflexes are top tier.
So if he has world-class reflexes and he can stop shots from point-blank range, why is he considered such a fatal liability in this specific final?
Because shot stopping is only half the job of a modern goalkeeper. Safonov's critical vulnerability is his command of the air.
Oh,
When a high cross comes into a really crowded penalty box, a goalkeeper has to make the split-second decision to charge off his line, navigate through a sea of massive bodies, and confidently catch or punch the ball away.
and Savinov doesn't do that.
Savinov hesitates. He highly prefers to stay glued to his goal line. And against Mikel Arteta's Arsenal, that hesitation is fatal.
Because Arsenal's set pieces are designed to punish exactly that flaw. Our sources note that Arsenal has scored 6 goals from set pieces in this Champions League campaign alone.
It's a huge part of their identity.
Right, Arteta doesn't just ask his players to cross the ball, he engineers total chaos. He has his corner kick takers deliver these high in-swinging balls that curl directly into the 6-yard box, like as close to the goal line as mathematically possible.
And then he deploys these massive, highly physical players like Gabriel Magalhaes, William Saliba, and Kai Havertz to literally crowd the goalkeeper.
Yeah, just swarm him.
Exactly. They essentially wrestle the opposing defenders, and it creates this physical barricade that pins the goalkeeper to his line.
Wow.
Yeah. So if Safinov refuses to aggressively punch through that crowd, Arsenal center backs will simply jump over everyone and head the ball right into the net.
It's almost like playing basketball and just lobbing the ball to a 7-foot center in the paint. Because you know the opposing team doesn't have a rim protector.
That's exactly what it is.
It is ruthlessly pragmatic. But, that set-piece dominance is really just the tip of the spear for Arsenal's overall tactical structure. The best way I can describe Arteta's defensive system out of possession is it's like a hydraulic press.
I like that. That is a highly accurate way to visualize it.
A lot of casual fans hear terms like 4-1-4-1 mid-block, and their eyes just kind of glaze over.
Oh, for sure.
So let's clarify that for the listener. Arsenal doesn't usually run around frantically pressing the opponent's defenders near their own goal like a team possesses.
No, they're much more disciplined than that.
Instead, they drop back into this very structured, compact shape, right around the middle of the pitch, which is the mid-block.
Right.
They just sit there, organized in 2 tight lines of 4, with 1 defensive midfielder right in between. They don't dive in. They just slowly, inevitably compress the space.
They literally squeeze the oxygen out of your passing lanes until you panic and make a mistake.
And the undisputed anchor of that hydraulic press is Declan Rice.
Unquestionably.
The numbers on Declan Rice from the semifinal against Atletico Madrid are genuinely hard to comprehend.
They're staggering.
In the first leg alone, he completed 83 passes. That is the second most by an English midfielder in a Champions League semifinal since records began.
Incredible.
But the stat that really jumped out at me was the 12 line-breaking passes. For the listener who might not watch a ton of tactical film, explain the mechanics of a line-breaking pass and why it is so devastating.
So a line-breaking pass is basically the ultimate weapon against a highly structured defense.
Yeah.
Most midfielders pass safely sideways, kind of forming a U shape around the opposing team.
Right, just keeping possession.
Exactly. But Rice does something entirely different. He receives the ball, uses his eyes to manipulate the opposing midfielders, actively making them think he is passing wide.
Oh, that's clever.
Yeah, and the second they shift their weight, he drills a hard, flat pass directly straight through the center of the pitch.
Right through the defense.
He entirely bypasses the opponent's first or second line of defense in a fraction of a second, and he finds an Arsenal forward in a really dangerous pocket of space.
So he's instantly flipping the switch from defense to attack.
Exactly.
And Arteta actually makes this system even more complex when Arsenal has the ball by using inverted fullbacks. Again, for the casual fan at the pub, what does an inverted fullback actually do, and what are these half spaces that all the tactical blogs keep obsessing over?
Okay, so traditional fullbacks, they run in straight lines up and down the extreme wide edges of the pitch, right near the touchline. Inverted fullbacks, like Arsenal's Ricardo Calafiori or Miles Lewis-Skelly, they do the exact opposite.
Yeah.
When Arsenal gets the ball, they abandon the wide areas entirely and drift inside, standing right next to Declan Rice in the center of the midfield.
Which honestly seems counterintuitive. Like, why would you cram more bodies into the middle?
Because it creates a brilliant dilemma. By crowding the center, Arsenal forces the opposing team's wingers to make a terrible choice.
Okay, what's the choice?
Well, do I follow the Arsenal fullback inside, totally abandoning the wide area? Or do I stay wide and let my central midfielders get completely outnumbered in the middle?
Ah, I see.
Yeah, and this numerical advantage in the center frees up Arsenal's creative players like Martin Odegaard to push higher up into those half spaces.
Ah, the half spaces. Let's talk about those.
Imagine dividing the football pitch into 5 vertical lanes. You have the 2 wide wings, the dead center, and then the two lanes nestled right in between the center and the wings. Those in-between lanes are the half spaces. They are incredibly dangerous because if an attacker gets the ball there, it forces the opposing center back to step out of his defensive line to engage.
Leaving a huge gap.
Precisely. It leaves a massive hole behind him for a striker to exploit.
It is a beautifully disciplined, totally suffocating trap, 0 defeats, only 6 goals conceded the entire tournament. It genuinely looks impenetrable.
It does.
But to actually lift the trophy, Arsenal has to survive PSG's incredibly lethal left flank, and they have to do it without their absolute best defensive weapon.
Yeah, this is the glaring, flashing vulnerability for Arsenal right now.
Starting right back, Ben White, the man who usually locks down that side of the pitch, is entirely out with a severe knee injury.
It's a huge loss.
So Arteta is forced to rely on either Jurrien Timber, who is just coming back from a 2-month groin injury and isn't match fit at all, or Christian Mosquera, who is a promising but entirely inexperienced rookie.
And this raises a really important question regarding PSG's attacking strategy, because PSG's left flank is arguably the most dangerous in world football.
Absolutely.
You have the blistering pace of Nuno Mendes pushing up from the back, and the absolute wild card they purchased in the winter transfer window, Kvaratskhelia.
And under Luis Enrique, PSG doesn't just play static football either.
No, they utilize intense positional fluidity.
Meaning?
Kvaratskhelia is not going to just stand on the white line and wait for the ball. He will actively roam. His singular tactical directive will be to hunt down Arsenal's backup right back, whether it's a hobbled Timber or a nervous Mosquera, and ruthlessly isolate him in one-on-one situations.
And if he successfully isolates that backup right back, it triggers a terrifying domino effect for Arsenal's defense.
Whoa, completely.
If Mosquera is getting beaten repeatedly by Kvaratskhelia, Declan Rice cannot just sit in the center of the pitch. He has to abandon his post and sprint over to the right side to help out.
And the very millisecond Declan Rice leaves the center of the pitch,
The middle of the vault is completely wide open.
waiting in that newly vacated central space are PSG's elite midfielders, Vitinha and Fabian Ruiz. Arsenal's compact hydraulic press is suddenly stretched to its breaking point.
It's a phenomenal tactical chess match. But there is one major variable that neither Arteta nor Enrique can control. The referee,
Right.
Daniel Siebert. He is a 42-year-old German official, and this is his very first UEFA club competition final. How does a referee's specific style actually dictate the tactical flow of a match like this?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, officiating styles vary wildly by region.
Okay.
German officials, and Siebert in particular, heavily favor uninterrupted game flow. They want the match to move.
So they let things go.
Exactly. This means they are historically very lenient. They will let a lot of heavy physical contact slide without blowing the whistle for minor fouls.
So it's going to be an absolute street fight.
It really is, and that benefits both teams, but in entirely different phases of the game. For PSG, a lenient referee allows them to execute a highly aggressive counterpress. When they lose the ball, they can instantly swarm and physically bully the Arsenal players to get it back without fear of constant cheap fouls.
Right.
But for Arsenal, it is a massive advantage in the penalty box. All that physical wrestling and blocking we discussed earlier during their corner kicks, Siebert is highly likely to just let them get away with it.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because of how evenly matched and physically brutal this game is going to be, the analysts in our sources have mapped out 2 drastically different game state scenarios, entirely dependent on who scores the opening goal.
The first goal is everything.
It really is. So let's look at scenario A. Arsenal scores first. What happens?
Arsenal will immediately drop into a low block.
Meaning they abandon the mid-block entirely and pull all their defensive lines incredibly close to their own penalty area.
Precisely. They deny PSG's incredibly fast wingers any open grass to run into behind the defense. They force PSG to try and pass their way through this dense thicket of bodies in the center of the pitch.
Which is almost impossible.
Yeah, and because PSG pushes so many players forward when they're desperate, Arsenal will simply absorb the pressure and launch devastating high-speed counterattacks using Bukayo Saka and Leandro Trossard.
But scenario B flips the entire script.
Yeah.
If PSG scores first, Arsenal cannot sit back.
No, they can't.
They have to push their defensive line higher up the pitch to aggressively hunt for an equalizer. And the golden rule of football is that if you leave open space behind your defense against players like Ousmane, Dembélé, and Desiré Doué, they will utterly destroy you with their pace on the counter.
Exactly.
If PSG gets the lead, they can comfortably sit back, let Vitinha manage the tempo of the ball, and simply wait for Arsenal to fatally overcommit.
The margins are just razor thin. So what does this all mean for you, the listener? Let's bring everything we've unpacked together.
Good idea.
The traditional odds makers and bookies are staring at PSG's sheer offensive firepower of 44 goals, plus their pedigree as the defending champions. So they have listed Paris as the moderate favorites, sitting around minus 152 on the money line. However, the data analytics community sees it very differently.
Right.
The Optus supercomputer, which heavily weights defensive structural consistency and set-piece efficiency, has run thousands of simulations. And it actually gives Arsenal a 54.6% chance to finally lift their first ever Champions League trophy.
It is the ultimate clash of contrasting philosophies. So whether you are watching this match on a sticky floor in a packed pub or screaming at your television from the comfort of your living room couch, you now know exactly what mechanisms to look for.
Absolutely.
Watch the tactical war on Arsenal's right flank. See if Kvaratskhelia can successfully isolate and break that backup right back. Watch the absolute physical chaos and wrestling in the 6-yard box on every single Arsenal corner kick.
That's going to be wild.
And just listen to the raw, suffocating acoustic roar generated by the steep stands of that Puskas arena.
I will leave you with one final lingering thought to ponder.
What's that?
We can sit here and talk about inverted fullbacks, mid-blocks, and positional fluidity all day. I mean, we are analyzing a sport that's completely dominated by billions of dollars of investment and endless reams of tactical data.
It's true.
But on May 30th, deep into the 85th minute of the match, this entire final might not be decided by a tactical masterstroke. It might be decided by the oldest variable in human competition. Pure, agonizing physical exhaustion.
Wow. Will PSG's star-studded, explosive, but deeply fatigued legs outrun Arsenal's rested, relentless hydraulic press?
Yeah.
Or will the sheer offensive dynamite of Paris Saint-Germain finally crack the titanium vault of North London?
It's going to be a classic.
We will find out soon enough. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Enjoy the match.